Preparing for a very difficult year, 38% of Americans say they will spend 2021 in survival mode. If about 40% of the entire nation expects to spend the next 12 months in survival mode, that's not a good sign for what the next year will bring. Traditionally, Americans have looked forward to turn off the year with tremendous optimism, but this time things are very, very different. 2020 has brought us the COVID outbreak, enormous violence and civil unrest in our major cities, and the biggest economic crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Unfortunately, much of the country is expecting more challenges in the coming months, as a recent study revealed that 38% of all Americans plan to spend 2021 in survival mode. Of the 3,011 surveyed adults, over 38% said they will spend the year in survival mode, meaning they will focus on the day-to-day rather than long-term goals to try to get themselves and their families through 2021. The biggest reason why so many people expect to be in survival mode is the financial problems they are having this year. According to the same survey, 68% of all Americans say they experienced some kind of financial setback in 2020. Although some respondents maintained their usual income over the past year, 68% had setbacks. Of those, 23% lost a job or household income, 20% had an unexpected non-health emergency, 18% had to provide unexpected financial aid to family or friends, and 16% had a health emergency in their family. As I constantly remind my listeners, Americans have made more than 70 million new unemployment benefits requests this year, but even many who were able to keep their jobs had a very difficult time. Another new survey revealed that nearly a third of all full-time workers in the United States experienced wage cuts in 2020. Roughly 1 in 3 full-time workers have experienced a pay cut due to the coronavirus pandemic this year, according to a recent Magnify Money survey of 984 professionals surveyed November the 6th to 11. If you have been employed throughout the 2020 and still can pay all your bills on time, you should be very grateful for your blessings, because you are in the minority right now. For most Americans, the past 12 months have been extremely painful, and this new round of isolation promises to prolong economic suffering to 2021. Certain industries that are absolutely devastated by the first round of crashes are officially in panic mode at this point. For example, we have permanently lost about 17% of all restaurants in the entire country, and the National Restaurant Association warns that 10,000 more restaurants may be closed permanently in the next 3 weeks. About 17% of Americans' restaurants have already permanently closed this year, with thousands more on the brink according to a new report. The National Restaurant Association is publicly pleading with Congress to pass new stimulus to help the industry that has been damaged by the pandemic. The group said Monday that 10,000 restaurants could close in the next 3 weeks, in addition to the 110,000 that have already shuttered in 2020. It is extremely difficult to run a successful restaurant even in the best of times. Margins are very thin, new competition is always emerging, and employees are constantly coming and going. When you added a global pandemic on top of all this, it became almost impossible for many restaurants to continue, and we were told that the future of the industry looked rather bleak. 87% of full-service restaurants independent, chain, and franchise report an average 36% drop in sales revenue. For an industry with an average profit margin of 5 to 6%, this is simply unsustainable. 83% of full-service operators expect sales to be even worse over the next 3 months. Although sales are significantly lower for most independent and franchise owners, their costs have not fallen by a proportional level. 59% of operators say their total labor costs as a percentage of sales are higher than they were pre-pandemic. The future remains bleak. 58% of chain and independent full-service operators expect continued fallouts and layoffs for at least the next 3 months. Of course, it's not just the restaurant industry that fires large numbers of workers. There are more and more major layoffs in the news almost every day, and many experts expect job loss numbers to accelerate as we move to 2021. Millions of unemployed Americans cannot pay their bills before paychecks arrive, and we are warned that we may face a historic evacuation tsunami that begins right after the holiday season. The day after Christmas, the extended unemployment benefits that have kept 12 million people and their families afloat are scheduled to expire. Then, mere days after that cliff, on the New Year's Day, a national ban on renter evictions from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is also set to lapse. Overnight, an unprecedented bill of $70 billion in unpaid back rent and utilities will come due, according to estimates by Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi. In all, up to 40 million people could be threatened with eviction over the coming months, research from the Aspen Institute says. Politicians insist that they keep us under cage for our own good. But the truth is that they absolutely destroy millions of lives in the process. There's a lot of debate over whether lockouts help prevent the spread of the virus. But what we know is that thousands of businesses have been permanently destroyed, millions of jobs have been lost, more people commit suicide, and Americans are increasingly taking self-destructive behavior. Overall, 1 in 3 Americans report binge drinking during the coronavirus pandemic. The average person also reports spending about 4 weeks in lockdown this year. Spending 21 hours a day at home, more than 7 in 10 people in the survey did not even leave their home for work. If we can't even deal with the COVID epidemic, what else will our society be able to deal with? As things continue to unravel around us, people will need great hope. Millions of Americans are already in survival mode, and the path ahead will certainly not be easier. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.